it seems as if the Tories' whole entire campaign is beginning to unravel a bit.
Yeah, Theresa had a really tough week, didn't she?
We're starting to see the fact that there's no substance behind her constant sound bites. Strong and stable. Now there isn't a magic money tree, is
No.
what she told one nurse. I did that review on Battle for Number 10 with the interview with Jeremy Paxman.
Right.
And when I was looking through all the video footage, and this was probably about the third time that I was watching it now, that section. What I found really interesting was that she looked so uncomfortable. She was out of her comfort zone, and it's like she didn't want to be there.
No, and you could hear the trembling of her voice in the beginning section, where the audience would ask questions. You could hear her voice trembling. And I can still see her face in front of me when he said to her that everybody in Brussels must think she's just a blowhard who falls over by the first sound of gunfire.
Yeah.
That was the moment of the evening, wasn't it?
Well, it was definitely something where I thought she might she might hit back with something witty, but she didn't. The thing is that what people are realizing is that she does lack substance behind her. It's all talk, and if you analyze anything that she says, you go around in a massive circle, and you sort of end up where you started with the question, because she hasn't answered it.
She goes on about Jeremy Corbyn's plan to raise taxes. And then today in an interview, she was questioning again whether she would rule out increasing income tax after the general election. And she simply refused to answer. So their promise of not raising taxes doesn't seem to be, very firm either.
When you look at who's funding the party and who's backing Theresa May to stay number 10,
Yeah.
What you come to realize very quickly is that it's all the big cats. It's the big corporations who don't want there to be higher corporation tax, and they want to protect that so that they can, fill their coffers and continue to evade paying their fair share of taxes.
Well, watching BBC Question Time, what I find actually astonishing is that people went on and on and on and on with Jeremy about whether he would authorize the use of nukes. That seemed, for the audience, that seemed to have been one of the biggest issues.
You'd have thought that maybe social care, school system, the funding of schools, the funding of the NHS, things that actually really matter would have been the first thing on people's minds.
Yeah, poverty.
Homelessness. All the things that actually are least well funded in this country, and where they're worrying about who can throw the biggest punch and kill lots of people. I think the reason why people are so focused on weaponry as being a priority is the fact that there's been so much scaremongering in recent times. We live in really difficult times in terms of terrorism and terrorist threats, and there is reason to be fearful. There is reason to want to feel protected. But is it that the answer, or is the answer to have more firepower? People always talk about the fact that we don't have politicians who actually are not about just taking care of the people at the top. He is such a person. He comes across as being such a person. We know that when he says the things that he says, that he's being genuine, because this is social equality, economical equality. These are things that he has been fighting for from as long as he's been in politics, and actually even before that, going right back to his teenage years. So it's well documented that this is a person who believes in those in those values, and we're seeing it coming right through in his manifesto.
Which I find really interesting when you look at some of the audience questions again on Question Times. They're very much around that him increasing the living wage to £10 an hour, which I still have no idea how you can live, a sustainable life at that sort of amount, that would wipe out many smaller businesses. And then you could be really controversial and say, if you can't pay people £10 an hour so that they can somehow get by in their life, then maybe you just don't have, unfortunately, a sustainable business.
True.
If you don't have a business which makes enough money, how can you then expect for somebody who is less fortunate than you are, maybe, to work on a ridiculously low hourly salary just to make your business work?
Yeah. But we're talking about basic needs here. We're not talking about people going off and living lavish lifestyles. We're talking about people being able to afford clothing, heating, food, the basic things that you need. And you hear someone saying earning £10 an hour, and you think the cost of living is quite high.
I think in the end of the day, the biggest problem Conservatives have, they have a candidate running for them who is just not believable. I think people don't trust her. That's what I don't like about her. And whether you like what Jeremy is saying or not, as he seems to stick to his opinion, regardless what, you can clearly see that in all of the debates and all of the interviews, he's not changing around, not doing U-turns. I think that's what people see in him.
Yeah,
and it really...
he's about principle. So, one of the interesting things that maybe a lot of people forget about Jeremy Corbyn. So I mentioned this before. When he was, as we know, he went to a grammar school, but he was very active politically there, and he had campaigned for it to become a comprehensive, right? Of course, which failed. It wasn't very popular, but he still went ahead and did it anyway. Even in his personal life, he again wasn't very popular with his wife when they argued about whether their eldest son, who was 11 at the time, should go to one of the country's best grammar schools, which he didn't want for him to go. He wanted him to go to a comprehensive school, and she didn't. And it became such a sticking point, and it's not a very happy ending for them that they'd separated because of on that issue. But it just goes to show that he's just very principled, and he's going to stick to his principles no matter what. So even if he isn't left being popular, or the favorite in the group, or be seen to do what everybody else wants him to do, if his principles don't allow it, he's not going to do it. And I think that's a good quality to have.